Hey folks, and welcome to TK Power Sports. This is an exciting video because I have this, the brand new second generation Sea-Doo Spark Trixx. And right now we're gonna hit Lake Tahoe and I'm gonna tell you all about it. Well, Tim, here we are at Lake Tahoe. It's a different location, but same amazing Sea-Doos. I'm excited to get out here riding.
Yeah, there's definitely worse places to come and try a new Sea-Doo out than Lake Tahoe, right?
Definitely. So why don't you tell us what's new for 2024 here on this Spark Trixx?
Yeah, we're excited to launch the next generation of Sea-Doo Spark. So this is kind of Spark 2.0. So it's the next evolution of that iconic watercraft that's kind of changed the way that people look at watercraft in modern times, because now it really is accessible, and accessible in every sense of the word. It's financially accessible. It's the lowest priced watercraft available on the market, but it's also about half the weight of any other watercraft. So these are some things that makes it a lot easier to pull up this beach right now. Yeah. It's easier to tow, even if you have a Mini Cooper. So it makes it accessible. But those are some of the trademarks of the Spark for the last 10 years.
Sure.
So let's talk about 2024, right? Okay, so from a distance, if your eyes are a little bit blurry, it might look like the previous generation Spark, but it's been totally redesigned on the top deck. So if you had them side by side, you see the previous generation had a lot more hard edges on it, where this one, it's a little bit more flowing lines on it, but we changed some of the things that people wanted to enhance. Back in 2013, when the Spark was launched, for instance, cell phones were a lot smaller. So they fit in that glove box, but as cell phones have gotten bigger, they weren't fitting so well. So now we have a bigger glove box. We have the watertight storage within the glove box, and that's just one example. The rear deck has been redesigned. So now the previous one was a little challenging to get on. Now we have 3 different handle points to actually get on the machine a lot easier, because half the fun of the Trixx is falling off. So we want you to be able to get back on easier. And then we also integrated the Link accessory system on the back deck now. So now we have pop-up cleats, or not cleats, but the Link attachment points on the back, and then they pop down so they're flush with the deck. That's a new enhancement. Nice. Some of the other aspects is the seat has been, it's a different style now for the Trixx. It's actually a 1-up. So we went from a 2-up to a 1-up, because people aren't doing a lot of tricks with 2 people. So we went to a single seat, so it allows you to dance around the watercraft and try to do a little different kind of tricks. Nice. And then to get you into the rhythm, we have the new sound system. So we have the new sound system with a completely redesigned head here. So this is very modular. You can put just a regular cowling that just snaps right on top of this, or you've got the 50-watt Bluetooth sound system that you can take off. I mean, you can put this in your pool. It floats upright, so the sound's coming out. I mean, you want to put this in the shower, you could, or you go ride around Lake Tahoe listening to your favorite music. But this is an awesome feature that just pops on and off. And then one of the other aspects is, well, if you didn't post about it, you didn't do it now, right? So you got to post. So we made it a lot easier to capture your own content on this machine, where we have several action camera mount points on this. So we actually have 5 different action mount points where we can attach a different action sports camera, 2 on the back, 2 on the front, 1 here, so you can get those incredible POV shots, capturing that big smile that you're having on the water. Nice. But that's new for 2024, is the new Spark 2.0.
Nice. Just one other thing, did I see there's
Yeah.
new nose storage? That's an accessory for 24?
So that was the previous Spark. You could get it without
Okay.
the storage,
Okay, yeah.
but you can get the 2024, of course, with the storage bin. It's
Got
part
it.
of the convenience package.
Okay.
And that's a good point because the storage area has actually been increased by 30%.
Nice.
So now when you add that insert storage compartment with a hood on it, you have more storage space.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go for a ride, Tim. We'll see if I can try not to fall off. Or maybe
Go
I
for
will.
it. Hey, that's half the fun.
Heck
So
yeah.
yeah, go out and spark some fun.
Thanks, man.
All right.
And now, folks, here I am riding this Spark Trixx out on Lake Tahoe. Now, the first thing you need to know about Lake Tahoe is that it sits at over 6,000 feet of elevation, so the powertrain was affected. But let me say that the 90 horsepower model felt like just enough. It was enough to get my big frame up and out of the water doing those tail stands, and it was enough to scoot me along these big waves pretty well. I will say that I was pinned right to the bar quite often, but that's sort of the fun thing with a model like this, especially up here at elevation, is because the power isn't crazy, you can almost always go straight to full power, and there is something fun about riding a machine right at its limit when it's just screaming away. So that was really my experience here on the Spark Trixx, especially at elevation. Now, power is one thing that Sea-Doo decided not to address for the 2024 model year, even though they are calling this the second generation Spark. There certainly is a large number of consumers out there calling for more power in the Spark, but Sea-Doo didn't address that. What they did is they went ahead and updated all the other areas where they've had complaints. So things like the styling, adding more storage. It's really comfort and convenience features that arrived for this second generation Spark. Now on the Trixx model, there is a new Trixx mode, which allows you to do reverse donuts or reverse tail stand spins, but this is not something that I really had a chance to use because I was dealing with these big rollers out here on Lake Tahoe. Yes, it was a windy day, and that is big water, so we were fighting some big waves. So now let me talk a little bit more about how the Spark Trixx handles on the water. The defining characteristic of the Spark in my mind is its lightweight, and that's both a positive and a negative. On the positive side, this machine really feels like it sits above the water, on top of the water, and that means that it's flickable. You can send it into a corner and it turns very quickly. Now, it doesn't feel like it digs in and bites like some of those performance Sea-Doo models. It feels like it just skids right across the top of the water, which is a very fun and exciting feeling. So there's no doubt that the fun factor is there, and the lightweight of this machine just means it's quite responsive. On the downside though, unlike other modern full-size PWCs, the Spark gets pushed around very easily by the water underneath it. Unlike bigger, heavier, wider models, which tend to sit lower and sort of cut through the water, the Spark sits above the water or on top of the water, and yes, you're very much at the mercy of the waves. So that is, again, sort of the defining characteristic of the Spark. It's small and lively, but it also gets pushed around by the water pretty easily. Now that's speaking on Spark in general, but moving on to this Spark Trixx model, there's a couple things here that make it even more fun. First of all, you have a handlebar riser. Now this is actually taken from the Sea-Doo lineup, from mountain sleds. They brought it over here to the Trixx because they realized that when you're standing up, especially doing those tail stands, it's nice to have the handlebars even closer to you to offer more control. Oh, and just like before, there's those angled footrests located at the back of the footwells, so once you're standing the machine up, you can really move your feet back and get into a comfortable position. I had this thing standing up for minutes on end, and it was no problem with the handlebar riser and with those footrests because you're just set up in such a nice ergonomic position to keep the machine standing tall. And of course, I did as many tail stands or water wheelies as I could. It was even harder to do with those big waves. But what I found, and I've done these in the past, you can truly control this machine using only your body weight. I found myself barely turning the handlebars, and I was able to spin those tight circles just using my legs. And that's another sort of fun characteristic of the Spark and the Spark Trixx. Because they're so light, your body weight can really affect how these machines move. So I pulled those tail stands, which by the way are so fun, and they make you feel like such a hero even if you don't know what you're doing. I pulled the tail stands, I used my legs to handle them, and one of the great features on the Trixx is if you double tap on the trim, you can very quickly trim out of a tail stand. So you can double tap up, pull the nose up into a tail stand, and then double tap down, and as you can see here, the nose just flattens right out and the Spark takes off. By now, you're probably thinking again, so what really changed? Because the riding experience here on the Spark sounds like it did before, and you would be correct. When you get out there on the water, it doesn't feel all that different than the previous generation model. Where you're gonna see the differences again are in all of those comfort and convenience features. Things like a slightly larger LCD display, which gives you lots of good information. And then honestly, for me, a big guy, the larger rear swim platform is a big deal to help get back up on this model. Because it's so lightweight, that's always been a tough thing to do, so Sea-Doo went ahead and made it a little bit easier. The styling on the updated Spark is a little different too. From afar, you might not notice it, but from close up, they've actually moved away from the more angular design. With my eyeballs, I think it looks pretty good, but of course, why don't you drop in the comments now and let me know what you think of the styling on this updated Spark and Spark Trixx. For 2024, this is definitely evolution, not revolution. Sea-Doo didn't go back to the drawing board on the Spark and the Spark Trixx. They simply updated all the areas they felt would bring more comfort and convenience to the passengers while preserving this machine's incredibly fun riding characteristics. Now, truly, the Spark harkens back to PWCs of a decade and 2 decades ago, which were small, lightweight, and most importantly, inexpensive. And that's where the Spark really makes its mark, offering up a ton of fun for not a lot of money. And if you want my honest opinion, I think in all of power sports, this is probably one of the most fun machines for the money, just because it's so inexpensive. And how much are we talking about? Well, the 2024 Sea-Doo Spark starts at $6,999 in the US, while the Spark Trixx that you saw in this video goes for $9,099 US. Now for my Canadians, the Spark starts at $8,699, while the Spark Trixx goes for $11,299.
Well, folks, we've come to the end of this one. Now, you saw it out there today. Based on all my laughing, this thing is so much fun. And for 2024, Sea-Doo didn't come along and say, we need a whole new Spark. They just took the things that were already good and they left them alone, and they added enough new features to make this exciting and a little more comfortable and a little more livable for 2024. So yeah, that's it for this one. Now I need to hear from you. Please go into the comments. Let me know what you think of this brand new Sea-Doo Spark. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come back here to TK Power Sports to see what we're testing next. See ya.